Men's semifinal number 1 will pit Patry McLaughlin from Hawaii up against the young South African Luke McGillivray.
Patry McLaughlin off to a hot start. Look at those conditions out there, getting a little cover up. Oh my goodness. We have some great conditions today for this men's semifinal. Patry just ripping in some turns.
And he was definitely hunting the barrel there, looking for a cover up there, not quite finding it, but throwing some nice turns there in the pocket from the young Hawaiian.
And he had his game face on for this entire heat, Sky. It was unbelievable to watch both him versus Luke McGillivray also just going Richter scale out there, really trying to get everything out of these waves as we still see Patry McLaughlin in front of us.
Yeah, this was one of the best heats of the day here, the semifinal number 1. Here, Luke McGillivray had a great opening to this heat, just staying busy, catching a lot of waves.
Yeah, and both of these guys, actually, it's kind of unfortunate that they had to meet in the semifinal, and one of these guys had to lose because both of them were kind of the underdogs that came in and really were beating the big dogs. As you can see, the conditions just improving as this heat goes on.
Yeah, this is the battle of the goofy footers, Ben. So Patry here riding on his forehand. Patry from Hawaii doesn't get the chance to go left much, but loving it out here at one eye going front side. And, of course, the young South African on his natural stance here.
Yeah, used to these conditions, not necessarily here at one eye, but definitely lots of lefts in South Africa.
That's that barrel from Patry.
That's the barrel. Patry claiming it a little bit coming out of it. Everybody was screaming in the judges' tower on the beach. Definitely the best barrel that we saw of the day. And one of those high-scoring waves, Sky, that really propelled Patry up to the leaderboard early in this heat.
Yeah, had he been able to finish that thing off with perhaps another good turn or that second cover-up, that could have been a very huge score, perhaps a 10. And Luke here just ripping apart a little insider and also caught a ton of waves in this heat.
Yeah, this was actually probably one of the first heats all day on this particular day 3 where pretty much every time you looked up into the horizon, the sets just kept coming in. It was pretty consistent. These guys really couldn't complain when the heat was over that one guy got the better sets than the other one. Both had their opportunities to go out there, as we see Luke here just tearing the tops off of those waves. Both of these guys really just having the perfect conditions to showcase exactly what they could do in these conditions.
Yeah, and it's so great like that when you're not having to worry about the consistency of the waves. You can just go out in your heat. You know you have 15 minutes. The waves are just nonstop. You can catch as many as you possibly want and just go to town on these things. And
both of these guys is pretty remarkable. They're pretty powerful riders, but they maintain their speed fairly well through it. You can see the way that the waves were breaking today. There was a little bit of sections as we look at Luke up high here. It was one of those heats where both guys kind of had to decide whether or not they were going to start initiate their bottom turn in up high, or as we see right here in this photo. In this picture, Patry actually choosing to go more towards that middle section to begin his wave ride and trying to carry it all the way down in front of the judges' tower. Again, just trying to as we see Patry go down there, but trying to make the decision of where to start. Again, here, Patry up a bit higher on this one. And as these conditions change, as the swell changes direction a little bit in the middle of the heats, these guys are trying to do their best to pick and choose the right wave.
Yeah, exactly. There's just such a flurry of sets in this heat. These guys pretty much able to go wherever they wanted on the reef and just looking for those waves that were going to give them some wall to work with, not too much west in the sets, and just allow them to get off a lot of turns.
Great vantage point here, actually, is we're looking up from the judges' tower exactly to what they're seeing, exactly the sets rolling in as we zoom in on Luke McGillivray, the South African, making his country proud. We're actually really close to South Africa here in Mauritius. He's got a lot of supporters who are watching him live online as the time change isn't too far away. However, we've also had so much support for Patri as well online, and everyone's staying up super late in Maui, checking out how he's doing. But this was a close heat. If I remember correctly, this one wasn't really decided until the final bell was on. We were waiting to verify a bunch of scores there at the end, just to make sure that exactly every wave was scored and every wave counted. As we see Patri again trying to tuck in to a little cover up there, and he definitely. As the heat wore on, he knew he had some high scores. Kind of was out there hunting for a couple of those final barrels at the end of the heat.
Yeah, he's there. You see him trying to stay high. He was thinking about pulling in the barrel there. I think what really made the difference for Patri in this heat was definitely that good cover up barrel we saw at the beginning. That was a really high score for Patri, and that really pushed him over the top. Luke there playing a bit of catch up at the end, looking for that cover up. So final scores for that heat: 15.5 for Patri and 12.27 for Luke McGillivray. So Patri advancing.
Men's semifinal number 2, we have Ayrton Cozzolino from Italy versus Sebastian Ribeiro, the Brazilian.
Sebastian off to a great start here. That fluid backhand riding we saw from him all event long. Just working these waves through to the inside, that offshore, just getting the best of him.
Yeah, I think was the only regular footer backside rider left in these semifinals, and definitely had his work cut out for him against defending world champion Ayrton Cozzolino.
And beautiful timing there. Nice late hit there from Ayrton. He's got this place absolutely wired.
It's amazing. Ayrton's not the biggest guy on tour, but he has his body positioning allows him to kite with so much power, and when he hits that lip and comes off the top, he's throwing buckets of spray. Sebastian Ribeiro, like as you were saying, Sky, one of the most fluid riders on tour, and definitely fun to watch every time that he's in the water. And this was just a monster of a heat. Both super fluid, great riders. And again, this is kind of one of those heats where you wish that no one had to lose, because both of these riders were just absolutely charging it out there.
Yeah, and a little bit different approaches to the wave here. Sebastian sort of staying more sort of mid-face, and just staying really tight in the pocket with that nice flowing backhand style, versus Ayrton's sort of really a more aggressive approach. Ayrton riding on his front side, really cranking off the bottom, and Sebastian here just catching a lot of waves, and just great to see that nice fluid surfing style, that surfing really shining through into his kite surfing.
Yeah, and a lot of even their differences in style. Sebastian's gonna keep in that critical section of the wave a bit more, use the wave power a little bit more than Ayrton. Ayrton gets a little bit more out in front of the wave, and really generates a little bit more speed and hook to that bottom turn to initiate his setup to top turn, and just absolutely crank turns like crazy. But as you can see, both of these guys really going after it, both trying to match and one-up each other. A couple of floaters there in a row, first by Ribeiro, second by Cozzolino. Again, you can see the waves in this heat were just outstanding, the wind holding, the sun shining. It was just a fantastic condition to hold this second men's semifinal.
And that was a really good wave there from Sebastian, catching a little bit of rail in that second turn, and that would have probably been a really big score for Sebastian had he just been able to connect that second turn. But here we see Ayrton's approach here. Big, powerful snaps in the pocket. Just it's hard to argue with that power surfing from Cozzolino.
Yeah, and it's kind of able to showcase, as you were saying earlier, the two different styles of these riders. And Ayrton definitely not lacking in speed and power. As you see him trying to race around this section right here. The waves really started reeling that day, but Ayrton just navigating his way through these sets and absolutely annihilating the lips when he sees them.
Yeah, just so much power from Cozzolino. The way he just drives hard off the bottom and hooks those turns up under the lip, that's just exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, that was a prime example of the power and fluidity that you get whenever Ayrton Cozzolino hits the water. Just such vertical turning, and that's sort of a style issue, as we see Ayrton fall out the back of that wave. But it's sort of a signature move of his, of just those really vertical power turns.
And you just see how lined up the surf was here on day 3. Just Sebastian looking for a little cover up, actually losing his bar there, coming unhooked. His kite went down there for a while. He struggled for a while to get back up and get back into this heat.
Yeah, and Cozzolino, as you see the kite in the foreground there, just getting hammered in the surf. Cozzolino taking that opportunity to catch a few more waves that while Sebastian Ribeiro was trying to sort out his equipment and get back up in the lineup. But as you can see, because of the conditions, neither rider really struggling to catch waves. Both these guys were out there with plenty of time to showcase their skill and give the judges a great view of who deserved to take this heat home.
Yeah, so Cozzolino just hooking into a bunch of sets here late in the heat, just catching a ton of waves while Sebastian's trying to sort his kite out there. Ayrton at this point just having a bit of fun, launching an air out the back.
Yeah, and again, Ayrton is, as we said before, one of those guys you never want to take your eyes off of because you never know what that kid's going to pull off.
Here we go, Sebastian Ribeiro, kite back up. He's back in the heat, trying to play late catch up here. Final scores, Ayrton 15 points against Sebastian's 13.35.
Next up, we had the women's third place final. Kirsty Jones from Great Britain versus Inês Correia from Portugal.
And Kirsty off to a great start here, hooking into a bunch of nice waves in this heat then, and just showing that fluid surfing style she's riding here on her natural stance facing the wave.
Yeah, and the conditions were phenomenal for the women. You'll see that as this heat progresses, neither of these girls were willing to say die. Both of them were pulling into just impossible closeouts, trying to get barreled, trying to really increase their wave total, their wave score. Both of these girls just laying it all on the line, really trying to get that podium position.
We also saw some great wipeouts in this heat. Kirsty Jones pushing the envelope there and taking a little beating there. She fortunately was able to keep her kite up and keep going in this heat.
Yeah, but as I said, both these girls just knowing that the winner of this heat is on the podium, third place on the line, and both of them not willing to say die. Both of them, as you see both in the frame here, just being able to witness what the other one was doing and try to one-up each other and really get their wave scores high. And this actually was the closest heat we saw all day, Sky, and perhaps maybe the closest of the entire competition.
Yeah, this one came right down to the wire, so it was definitely a nail-biter. Really exciting heat to watch. Kirsty there pumping, looking for a bit of speed, getting blown up on that reef there on the inside. And as you can see, just tons of sets pouring in, super consistent swell here. Inês Correia from Portugal right in front of the judges' tower, just looking to one-up Kirsty here on this one.
Yeah, and again, it's some of the difficulty of navigating these waves is especially here at One Eye, is really knowing when the wave is going to close out, when it's not, when to try to race around that section, or when to really lay into your bottom turn.
Final scores for this heat, 12.24 for Kirsty and a 12.23 for Inês Correia. Kirsty taking the win.